Hey there, gang. Jason here from the Cracktastic Plastic Podcast, coming at you with another toy journey. We're here today with a guy I met almost 15 years ago when he came into my collectible store looking for horror movies and memorabilia and toys. And between his film festival and getting to know him on our horror movie podcast as a guest and never letting him leave, we've become fast friends ever since. I'll be honest, it's this guy's toy collection, and seeing how beautifully displayed he has it all throughout his house was my biggest inspiration to get all my toys out of their totes, to get them all displayed, because I'd never done that before. And I'm super grateful for that inspiration because it certainly made my life better for it. Please welcome NECA shill, Tad Good. What's up,
Hey,
buddy?
Jason. I didn't know I was some kind of inspiration. I mean, other than just like shaming you into opening stuff. Then I shoot like in front of my like actual stuff that the only things in my collection have kept in the box. Because the other room that we shot the full episode in like what 2 years ago now or something, 3 years ago was like your background where it's all the open
Full.
7 inch, yeah, NECA stuff. And so I've moved my overflow into this room, and a lot of it is still in the boxes just because it's like stuff that will not stand on its own or yeah work that way. But yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it was those early days when I first was able to come over to your house. I don't remember when exactly, if it was after film festivals or with the band on tour, you'd let us crash at your house. But getting to just see the way that you had everything displayed everywhere in the house, from the kitchen
Oh
to the
yeah.
living room, to sparing no wall expense. You had it out there, and I could see your how you put this collection over here and this collection over there, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome!" I was so jealous, and when I had the opportunity to get my own place here and was able to get them out, I was like, "I want that." When I saw your place, so
And
definitely
your
thank you
your
for that.
place has been like inspiring to me when I finally got to see it this past, what was it, summer, when
Yeah,
we and like I said, this room behind me is like fairly new overflow. This wall used to just be blank. I built this like little cube storage thing, and it filled up within one day of it being built. So it's already become another problem, but no, slowly finding. And like you said, it's partially, I can lie and be like, yeah, I just like to have stuff all over the house. It's like, no, because I don't have anywhere else to put stuff. So it overflows into the living room and the bathroom and the office and the spare bedroom. And I don't know. I don't think the kitchen has any toys. It has art on the walls, but no
yeah.
toys in there. So,
Well, the bathroom, the orange. I mean, it's everywhere. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. The kitchen will probably, be the last room to start filling with stuff, but I'm sure eventually, if I find the right thing to go in there.
Until you get that talk to me happy or
Hamburger, yeah,
hamburger
hamburger helper.
helper.
Yeah, that would be
Well,
good.
yeah, there's plenty of food things because Mike's kitchen is full of that shit. And well, anyway, so everyone's watching this video for the most part. They know who you are. They know about the horror podcast. You've been on the show as a guest. We've recorded in your basement, so they know you. But for those who don't, for the new folks, tell everybody about yourself. Where you're from, how old are you, tell us about who's Tad.
Well, I was a little like thinking about this when you asked me. I was in the time I was on your show too. I'm like, I've seen the comments on Cracktastic Plastic stuff, and there is some crossover, but there's a lot more than you might think that don't know about our
Sure.
horror podcast. There's a lot of people who just love toys who don't love horror movies, and vice versa. Um, we just happen to be in that weird Venn diagram, you and I, and our small group of friends who cross the streams. But I'm Tad Good. I am the director of Snake Alley Festival Film. I just turned 38.
Oh my
And yeah, born '85, so it's getting there. And yeah, I've been collecting. I mean, loved toys when I was a kid, obviously, but I think I always credit McFarlane's movie Maniacs line for like changing the game. I think that changed the game for a lot of people. But
Oh yeah,
uh,
huge time.
my friend Blake, who, if you're a listener of Attack of the Killer podcast, you've heard that name many times. But going to his house and seeing his horror collection, it was like the toys, and he had some costumes. I remember he had like a ghost face mannequin with like the mask and the robe, and he had those old Anchor Bay DVD tins on his wall, and he had the like first couple lines of Movie Maniacs, and I'm like, I didn't know these existed, and that's where it snowballed. So that was like collecting wise, but I for as much stuff as I have, I am pretty specific on mostly horror, I mean, mostly genre film stuff. I don't collect a
Yeah.
lot of toys, but I admire like your collection. I know nothing about Transformers, and when I go to your place and jokingly, is this one? Why? How are these two different stuff? No, I get it. It's cool. I love it. Yeah, I
Well,
also help program films at our local theater and podcast with you. And I'm sort of in that other group of your friends that just do a million different things and
yeah.
never rest. Yeah.
So I'm kind of aware. I feel like I'm okay on your movie maniacs forward time, but I'm really excited to learn about early Ted, because when you tell old stories, they're just incredible to me. But let's go way back. Let's go back to the beginning. Do you remember, what are your earliest memories of toys? Is it Christmas, birthdays? Do you remember getting any toys when you were real young?
Oh yeah, and now like just making me like try to think about it. Um, I guess I'm saying like the movie Maniac thing, and it did change it for me as more of like a serious collector. But like
Yeah.
looking back now, I didn't realize I was collecting things. But like there was a line in the mid '90s, probably, which is when I was like 10. They did Battle Trolls.
Mm,
I don't know if you remember Battle Trolls,
I've seen them.
but
I don't think I had
troll
any.
trolls were like the big thing, and they
Yeah.
were geared more feminine, because they had like bright pink hair and cute little naked things. Weird to think that's why they were
I
popular,
know.
but marketing and things were just different in the '80s and '90s. So they created a boys line of trolls, and it was the Battle Trolls. And one I remember, like every Friday, um, my grandma would babysit me, and I would like convince her, like, you know, I want one of these things. You take me to Walmart and I'd get a new one from the line. They had like every stereotype of a male. They had like a football player. That's the one I remember specifically. He was like wearing a jersey and the football pads and everything, and he was supposed to smell like a locker room, which is like things of the '90s. Why did things have to smell? Why did they make things
It was
smell?
a phase for sure.
It was, and I was like, and why make it? But I don't remember like it smelling bad, so it was probably more like deodorant or like musk of some kind.
Or pine or
But
something. Yeah.
yeah, they had like I remember that one specifically because that's one I really wanted, and I got it. And then I remember like there was a Viking one that was really cool. But the other thing I really collected huge was wrestling action figures. I didn't
Really?
have quite, yeah, I didn't have quite the collection that our late friend Andy, we've seen his wrestling collection. It's
Sure.
fucking awesome.
Not many do.
No, our mine was like mostly what I had found at yard sales. Like, I was the third kid, so I got mostly hand me downs, bikes,
Mm,
clothes, everything was from my
hmm.
older brother, my parents saved. But you can't, you can hand down toys when you're like a toddler, but once you start getting your own identity, I'm like the wrestling toys or Karate Kid, the stuff my brother Goonies he liked. It was like that's not going to swing in the '90s. It's not new anymore. So I remember, yeah, getting the wrestling toys. That was a big thing for me. I was the WCW guy.
Nice.
And so my dad actually, out of being poor, necessity of being poor, um, there were certain things that he would see in the stores and be like, I could just build that. And I remember with all the wrestling toys, he built like he took just like a piece of wood, he cut it down the middle, put a hinge on it, and then like two other pieces on the ends, and cut out a piece of fabric, and that was the announcer's table. And because they
Nice.
sold it, and they sold like a breaking announcer's table, like Hasbro or whoever at
Uh-huh.
the time had the license, and it was so expensive. And I was like, my dad was like, you can get the like JR and the Jerry the King Lawler toys, but like the table itself is so expensive. I can build that, and it was cool because it broke in the middle, and then you just picked it back up, and it was back to good. It had like a stiff hinge on it that would not fold
Yeah.
on until you put pressure on it. I had the CD of like the theme songs I would play over the speakers,
Oh,
and I walked them out. It was all about accuracy, and
hell yeah.
that's traveled on to my movie stuff where I don't play with them, but like posing them. I think
Yep.
that's one thing you like when you saw my collection. I'm always like, I have a whole shelf of just Halloween franchise, and I have every version of Michael Myers they've released, but I cannot put them in the same pose. But I also cannot stand when I see someone's collection and they have him in like a pose that Michael Myers would never make.
Right.
That drives me more. I would rather you keep it in the box. Just keep it in the box if you're not going to display it. Like Michael Myers has like a body language that he doesn't speak, so you have to go a body language. And when you have him like
Yes.
just holding a knife up above his head, no,
Get out of
like
here.
yeah, he's stealthy. He doesn't do that. Like you have to bend the way his legs go out. Like I don't know, it's something I'm
The details.
um, very particular about the details, and that probably started with that wrestling thing where I would play the music because the walkout was almost if not better than the actual match,
Kinda.
right? I mean,
Kinda.
when you hear Stone Cold, the glass
Right.
shatter, and him coming down the ramp flipping the double birds, there is nothing better as a kid, man.
Yeah.
And and then I slowly when WCW, and WWF at the time had that like Monday night war thing back and forth. I got into both and we flipped back and forth because that was before you had nine
Yep.
TVs in the house or picture in picture. And I really got into the hardcore wrestling like Mick Foley and
Yeah.
Mankind and Terry Funk and ECW. I got into that. So then it was like they
Barbed
didn't
wire
make
and blood.
toys.
Look
Yeah,
out.
they didn't make toys of those guys. So then it was like you make your own little toys out of chicken wire and find little chairs and yeah, it was awesome. But like I said, it was that those are probably my earliest memories. I'm trying to think of,
Did you ever
you
raid your
know,
sister's dollhouse for chairs you could break in the ring and
yeah,
table?
you, you see, you're a natural at interviewing because that just popped up another like visceral memory of one year getting an MC Hammer doll, and
Okay.
it was like in scale with Barbie. It was probably made by Mattel. There was two versions, the silver and gold. I got the gold one, and my sister was the middle child and she had the Barbies, but like, poor sister being in the middle of two
Oh.
boys.
Oh. Poor thing.
MC Hammer would crash the Barbie parties all the time, and my sister was not liking that. And so weird. I remember specifically, and this is just me blabbering, but it makes me laugh because at some point his like legs came undone from the hip
Uh-huh.
joints, and they slid. But like because he has the parachute pants, they could hold on to him. So I made him like this tall. He was like, a good 4 inches
Uh-huh.
taller than so I would do that and have him like walk, and my sister would be like, "This is so stupid." I thought it was the funniest thing. I would just extend his legs were like extended. So
Yeah. Sounds
yeah,
scary. It's
you're,
scary. Sounds scary to me.
yeah, and just thinking like you brought back like that weird memory that was locked in the back of my head. I haven't thought about in 30 years, but
That's
and,
awesome.
and then the other thing I was thinking of too was the talking dolls were a big thing when I was,
Mm. Yeah.
and I'm like sitting in a room looking right over here. I'm just gonna reach right out of the screen and grab
Yep.
them.
Yep. That is your time frame for sure.
But yeah, this one, this guy was big in my house. It's hard to
Oh my
recognize without
Lord.
his hat, even if his name's on his shirt. He doesn't have his hat. So if anybody out there has a pull string Ernest with the hat, I just want the hat. But I found him at like a flea market, and then the one I always wanted as a kid
That's the
was
one.
Kevin, and my mom got me Urkel, and I will never forgive her for it. I'll probably bring it up at her funeral. But uh, I asked for this for Christmas, and of course he's like, in '92 was the most popular thing ever of all time,
Ever.
and my mom probably either waited or couldn't afford it, so she got me Urkel, and I was like, Urkel, like, does this look anything like fucking Urkel? Uh,
It's the farthest from it.
yeah, yeah. So she got me
Mom.
Urkel. Come on, mom. But
Ugh.
he ended up getting thrown out of a bedroom window on up to the second floor of a house and broke. But I did not. These are not my original childhood ones because I didn't get them. So as a adult with money
Yeah.
to throw around, I found them on one on eBay and one at a flea market. But this is the next thing I'm after is the Talk Boy, and I did have that as a kid, and I wish I knew. My dad probably threw it away, but that's my next thing to waste money on.
Was it what describe the satisfaction you got when you finally got that Home Alone figure in your hand after all these years?
It fills a little void in your, it's like
Good.
it's like a sad little thing where it's like you
Yeah.
feel joy for a second, you put them over, and you're like, all that time I've wanted to sing, and
Why is this a grail to me?
yeah, but it makes me happy around Christmas time. I get them out, and I have so much Home Alone stuff between screen prints and art prints and pop figures and books and everything. I mean, it is like the movie of my childhood. If there's one,
Aw.
and so he comes out, and I just love. They did so much movie tie-in stuff with Home Alone that yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It's like it might have taken 25 years, but I finally got him, Mom. Sorry. And I
What
think
kind of
there's another version out there too, like a Home Alone 2 version,
oh
where he's in
snap.
like maybe I don't know. I know there's different toys. There's one that's notorious because he has like the hand face, but like you can move
Yep.
his hand, so it just looks like he's giving a ghost blowjob.
Oh
Uh,
Jesus. I am
yeah,
shocked you don't have that.
it's just a matter. You wait till after Christmas to look on eBay because around
Uh,
Christmas the prices skyrocket, and then people, yeah.
yeah. Well, it kind of brings me to my next question. You touched on these toys that you did have when you were a child. Do you have any that you still do you still have any that you had when you were a kid? Any of
I
these
don't
trolls or any of these Urkel?
know.
Urkel's gone. You said that.
Urkel, yeah, he met a very mean demise. I think my friend Chad smoked weed out of his head. Uh,
Yep. That sounds like
yeah,
Chad.
you could turn like anything into a bomb
Right.
if you have the right skills. But I don't know. I mean, my dad years and years ago now got sick, and his brother came in and remodeled his house, which was great. It needed so badly to be done, completely like ripped out drywall, but he threw away like everything in the house.
Oh,
And my dad is still like big mad about it, like because he threw away a bunch of my dad's old vintage racing shirts.
dang.
And I'm pretty sure like my childhood closet was filled with those toys that went wayside because we didn't have like a garage or a yard, really much of a yard for a yard
Yeah.
sale. And I'm pretty sure dad kept all that stuff in the closet when we moved, and he stayed there. And that's the thing is like I don't think the trolls are probably easy to find. The wrestling
Yeah.
toys, I didn't have any of the good ones. Um, but I mean, I literally bought secondhand ones. Either got secondhand from my brother, bought them at yard sales, or found them on clearance.
Yeah.
They
I just
were
wondered if you were able to hang on to any or not.
no. I just don't. Yeah, I don't think. I'm trying to think if there's
Most of us
anything in my
don't,
collection.
but
Yeah. I've just bought a few things that I love, but no, I don't really have. Every once in a while, my dad will surprise me, like when he stops by or something, he'll find something, but it's usually not something good like a toy. It's like a piece of homework or something stupid I did as a kid. He just
ugh.
wants to, yeah, bring me in the look how stupid it used to be.
Yeah. Well, all right. So that gets you up to the movie maniacs, and I guess now it's time for the big philosophical question. Time to look deep, look inside, and ask or an answer why do you think you do collect toys?
To fill a void, no, probably. I mean, I don't
Well,
know
yeah.
why.
Uh huh.
It's a temper chasing that high. There's something about. recently, now that for a while there, it was like that joy of the hunt went away when
Yeah. Oh,
online, and there's still a little bit of it when there's some of the
yeah.
exclusives and that kind of stuff, but like going into a store and seeing something on the shelf and being stoked, like, yeah, I found that. And then, going and I sort of refound a new love for it on Attack of the Killer podcast by doing these video updates, even
Oh,
if,
good.
Stefan's the only one that's watching them, or Rod, Rod too.
Right.
Shout out Rod. Sometimes it's like, the opening of them and looking at them and, like I said, displaying them and coming up with a really cool pose and finding a spot for it on the shelf. And like doing this wall that I sort of mentioned earlier, like that was such a joy because it was a blank canvas, and it still is right now, very much in progress. And this has been new fun for me, where the other room's pretty much at its limit. This room
Yeah,
has some,
there is a artistic part to it. As an
yeah,
artist, you're creating a display and diorama, all that stuff that counts as
but
part of
yeah, I
the
don't.
fun.
Other than that, I mean, I think it's just such a, sometimes the novelty of it. Like, I
Mm.
think the Super 7 stuff, a lot of that is just like, I cannot believe they came out with that. I was right before we hit record in this room, around like right here on this wall, I was like, they made Beastie Boys Sabotage music video toys, and that's the coolest fucking thing ever. Like, why does that exist? I don't know, but I love that it does. It's such a niche thing, but we've reached that point in toys, and I think that's where like that movie Maniacs thing was like, holy crap, they're doing like Freddy Krueger and Jason as action figures. I mean, in the '80s they had the squirt guns and all stuff, but like
Yeah.
seriously, like, not kids' toys. These are sculpted and posed, and so something about setting up the display, admiring it, switching it
Right. Those
around.
movie maniacs came built in dioramas almost with that
Yeah,
stand and poster and gave you little trinkets to put around. I know Mike and I were right there from the beginning on those too. And like, it was just such an incredible time for like, I didn't, toys can be for me. It was like,
and then yeah, and then they
yeah,
start making the quarters, the 18-inch ones, and those are like
I'm
the
so glad I
coolest
didn't get into those.
toys to ever exist for me, man. Like,
Yeah.
just so massive and cool, and like, the NECA carried on that tradition after McFarlane sort of fell off, and unfortunately those don't make as many anymore, and I can't really afford them anyways. But you know, just, I mean, if I had the money, like Hot Toys
Yeah.
would be,
Oh,
oh
I'm
my gosh,
surprised you haven't started dabbling with hot
nah,
toys. I look at
just
them and I'm like, man,
yeah, I'm like, I can get like 10 NECA figures for the
I
price of
know.
one of those. So it's tough, but
Yeah.
man, they're so cool. They're on their own level. So,
Well, what does get you excited about toys?
mostly licensing. Like, I'll admit, like a lot of people, I remember McFarlane would do these like, Twisted Christmas, Twisted whatever. I bought some of those, but like, it's got to be the license, like, as my, I am a NECA shill, but like I have not bought one Ninja Turtle because I mean, they
Oh,
were part of my childhood, but like they weren't. I would, if anything, I'd just buy the original Turtles Splinter, from the movies. Never from the comic books. Never read those. Never really watched the animated stuff. But like, it's mostly licensed for me. And the idea of like, well, how creative can you get when I see these Universal monsters and they're doing the black and white versions, or we're getting, like in the group, the Cracktastic Plastic group I just shared the other day, the Ben Cooper
oh
set.
man.
Like, when it's just amazing that that exists. They're just trick or treaters, but these vintage masks from our childhood are so cool.
Yeah.
And the idea that we're getting Halloween 3 stuff galore now is so cool. From Trick or Treat Studios to Mezco to NECA, everybody wants Halloween 3 now, and I'm just like, never would have expected that 10 years
No.
ago even.
Yeah,
And
you're such a movie guy. I mean, you're
yeah,
definitely a movie guy. So just having these physical representations of 3D characters in your house of the movies you love, it's such a neat thing. Such a neat
oh
thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it just goes back to when I was a kid, and it's like I'm watching that wrestler on TV, and now I have a little
Yeah.
version of him. Now I have this guy who beats girls to death with this in their sleeping bag against a tree, and I can get 8 versions of that character on my shelf. and slightly different nuances, but I notice them and appreciate the little differences. And
Yep.
you know, I just love that we have a Laurie Strode action figure. That's fucking cool. Like that was to me a big game changer. That's the stuff that excites me when we get new characters. Of course I'll buy every Michael Myers they make, but like you throw out a Laurie or you throw out a more obscure character, hell
Or like
yes.
when the thing finally starts hitting, once that license starts getting out there, we didn't have any of that forever.
Right, never
Killer
had
Clowns or yeah,
everywhere again. Yeah, yeah, and just like cool. I love that they're sort of playing like we're playing on vintage stuff. Uh, you know, and the Toonie Terrors, being creative with it. Seeing different
yeah.
versions of these characters too is really cool, and they can get more obscure with the licensing on that, where we're getting horror hosts and. I have like 6 Joe Bob figures. How cool is that? Plastic Meatballs killing
Unreal.
it with their
Unreal.
weird stuff. Yeah, so shout out to Plastic Meatball. Even the little more indie companies are doing really cool things.
What is it that bums you out about toys and or toy collecting?
Uh, the I don't know, maybe the market of like exclusives, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's good and bad, but it's like,
You understand it, but it still sucks.
yeah, repainting stuff and re-releasing it and taking advantage of fans. Because I know completists that will just buy everything because it exists, and it's almost taking advantage of them. I mean, as
Feels like
adults, we got to have self control too, but like that bums me out. Resellers, scalpers, that bums me out. And of course, price increases. Like
mm.
the cost of a 7-inch Ultimate from NECA is now at the price point that their 18-inch action figures.
I also would love to hear your rant again about like um, that toy line that just puts your Michael Myers in just a cloth jumpsuit.
No, is it the Migo
There you go. That's
ones
what it is.
or
Yeah.
yeah that and I mean NECA's
Style.
yeah, the NECA
Just
Migo style ones and the Migo ones themselves. That just is lazy to me. Um, Taking something and claiming outright publicly that the reason they can do more obscure characters like NECA's done, um, they have like Reanimator license, Herbert West. They've done Escape from New York, but they haven't done ultimate versions of that. And they're like, because it's cheaper to make them, then why are they cost more to buy? So you're saying the markup is higher so you can make more money on them? I mean, that's business, but like, don't say the quiet part out loud. Uh, when you get to reuse the same body and it's sort of a waste of a good head sculpt, it's just sloppy looking to me. The clothes never fit correctly. It feels half-assed. They don't stand and pose well. They just don't look. And it's weird because I'm criticizing that while I collect the little Super 7 things that look like, dog shit, but those have an aesthetic.
mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
How do you think toy collecting's changed since when you started till now? Is there any big glaring things you
Um,
see?
I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like, I mean, the internet changed the game in many ways for collectors to, connect with each other, but also like sort of hurt the hunt, but also help the hunt because things like if you're in Iowa and you don't have access to some of these stores, brick and mortar stores that carry them, now you can just wait online to order them, but also that again sort of hurts the thrill of the hunt. So that changed, but also it's brought in. I mean, your podcast, there was like being able to talk with friends like we're doing right now about toys. We learned from seeing Andy's collection, like he had this thing, he's in the middle of Nebraska with no one to talk about it until he sort of met us, and it was like, holy shit, like because of the internet, and
Yep.
we
Yep.
some really it comes down to that, and to me, it's like that being able to connect to others who share that same passion has really changed things for the better. I wouldn't trade it,
Yeah.
the lack of the thrill of the hunt. I think it makes up for it with the connection you have with other collectors.
Well, speaking of the thrill of the hunt, you are one of the blessed ones that live in a town with a target. I would love, and I know things that go through my brain once I walk into a store, but I'm just curious on what goes through your head when you're hunting for toys. Do you have routines? Are there traditions? What's going on in there?
Yeah, because I work like right. I mean, I can see Target from my desk basically.
Oh,
So it's hard not to stop there every day because you can literally go in the morning and go in the afternoon, and there's different stuff. And
oh,
I think I don't know if it's just our Target's an anomaly, but like it makes no sense.
yeah.
It's like the NECA person comes and they stock one toy at a time or something. It's like it, but it's my brain like the I cannot not go straight to the toys when I go into a
Yeah,
Target or a store because all the other stuff is secondary, because someone might just go in right ahead of me and want that really obscure,
it's
weird
happened.
toy that,
Yeah.
and it does. Yeah, when you see someone with it in your
Oh,
hand or they're looking, you just grab it, whether you want it or not, grab it just in case
just in
they can
case.
have it. It's like a dog who's like, I don't want this bone, but I don't want you to have it either.
That's right.
So my first thing is like I'm ruthless. Like I go and I look in my like I see this my target so often that I know exactly like if something has been
What's
moved
new?
or changed,
Yep.
I can instantly recognize. I can just do a quick scan over it and see, and I'm like, oh, something moved over here. Check behind the pegs, pull the stuff, separate, look behind. But it's like a small little adrenaline rush, and when you see something new, it's like, oh fuck, fuck, fuck,
Oh,
And my usually I'm messaging you or other collectors that I know, like you need one of these,
right.
taking pictures, sending pictures,
Look out for the next
pacing,
guy.
pacing through the aisles, waiting for a response, and
The
uh,
worst.
I think it's fun.
But
It's sort of like that
yeah,
little rush of waiting, and
yeah,
a lot of times I just buy them anyways, and if someone doesn't need them, I'll find someone else who does, or you can always
yeah.
return stuff. But for me, what goes through my head is just like the excitement of it's like a little kid. I remember going when I was a kid, going to Walmart and seeing what new wrestling toys they had, and begging my dad, can I borrow $10? I'll pay you back. And he'd be like, no, you won't. You don't have. Where are you gonna get $10 from
Right.
me?
That rush, man, that thrill. It's so
Yep.
real.
When you see something new on that peg. I mean, it just happened like last week. I still have a Target bag here where I saw three of these, and I got
Yep.
so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, seeing it in person. And this is what the weird anomaly I was talking about. They've had this line has like her Vincent Price, Tarman, and the Fiend from the Misfits. The Misfits one has been on the shelf for 3 weeks on its
Uh,
own. I know they didn't just send a box of that, so
yep.
came in with this.
You
Why
knew
is
it.
it on this peg for 3 weeks before this one appears? When the hell are Tarman and Vincent Price gonna hit the peg? Probably during a snowstorm where I can't get them. But who? What kind of is a sociopath that works for NECA or
Must
distribution
be.
just sitting in the back like looking out a window laughing at me like this guy's gonna come back every fucking day, isn't he? He's like they got me hooked like I'm an addict.
Yeah, your picture's right next to the security cam. Like, guys, this guy's back. Let's watch and see what craziness he does.
Absolutely, like because I'm digging through stuff and taking pictures, and people probably see the employees got to know. You have I worked retail and I
Yep.
recognize when people come all the time.
Sure. Well, let me ask, are there a toy, speaking of these licenses or toys, is there one that you wish they would make that they haven't yet? Is there something that's like on your wish list that you like, you want, you just haven't seen it yet?
Just there's a lot of horror stuff that just hasn't been really touched. A lot of the John Carpenter stuff, they're finally, the thing that checked the big one off the list. But like, I want like Ultimate, Big Trouble in Little China, and
Yeah.
Escape from New York. They made, NECA had the license. They made the retro Snake Plissken in two versions, and then never put out an Ultimate. And I'm like, how do you not? I'm not settling for that retro cloth garbage. I want an ultimate Snake Plissken. He can come with tons of guns.
Oh man.
Even I honestly don't even care if they had to like how licensing works. If they had to do a Escape from L.A. one, I don't care. It's still
Right.
Snake Plissken, the same
Right.
actor, same everything. Just if that's cheaper, make it be and use. reuse the body from other figures, whatever they got to do.
Just make it.
Because yeah, because those two to me are like big enough now. I would love Ultimate They Live, but I settled for the retro
Yeah.
cloth ones. But that seems to be like bumping up. It's not quite on Halloween 3 and Killer Clowns popularity, but it's seen a lot of stuff. So they're crossing a lot of that stuff off the list. I was thinking of one the other day. I mean, I wish they'd redo like Die Hard. John McClane would be really cool. Uh, NECA did some that I missed out on and really regret and just can't afford on the secondary market now. But
Mm.
new stuff is just, I know you can't ask them to do really weird, deep cuts,
Yeah.
but
It's hard.
yeah, but we're getting more than I ever really thought we would, and we're
Yeah. At the
pretty
same
spoiled.
time, they're still pumping out more toys than ever. It seems like more licenses
Oh
than ever.
yeah, every toy fair or toy show we get like all these new reveals, and I can't believe we're getting some stuff. We're getting like an Ultimate Vincent Price, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Uh, that kind of stuff, and they're just killing it with this Universal Monsters line, which they're getting into the more obscure, like a Nosferatu Ultimate figure. That is so cool that it exists.
Yeah.
You can have 20 Frankenstein monster and Bride of Frankenstein toys, but a Nosferatu and getting a little deeper cut there. So
Yeah. And then you have that internal struggle, like you said, with They Live. You're like, when a rare license comes along, you're like, and they put out the shit figure, you're like, do I get it? Because that might be it. Do I wait and hope they come out with an ultimate? You're sitting there like, I don't know what to do. That's always tough, right?
yeah, and also feel like even though I know one sale doesn't change things, it's like if you want them to make more of it, you have to buy what they put out to show the support. But also, like, I don't want to support them making crappy toys.
Right,
You know,
right.
so it's a double edged sword. But
Well, another big question for you, and I pretty much know the answer, but loose or on card or in box, what's important to you?
just sort of depends on the toy. First,
And what
you know that
makes yeah. But you're mostly
yeah,
get this thing out of this box.
yeah, especially like these 7-inch Ultimates or 18-inch figures that have all these accessories. Um, to me, if it's the package is part of the aesthetic, like the Super 7 things or Funko Pop stack on top of each other, so I keep them in box just for display purposes.
Sure.
But I think those look cool. But like the 3 3/4 inch retro toys, like the Super 7 ones, they don't stand for shit. Once you get them out of the package, sometimes you don't even recognize what they're from. So it's like
Right.
75% package, 25% of the toy. I mean, there's literally the Invisible Man one that is 100% package. There's not even a toy in it.
That's
Uh,
so awesome.
but yeah, but like for that, but mostly open up and display, especially like I said, the 7-inch Ultimates.
Cool. Do you I know you have some, focusing on a singular license or character. What decides that for you? Which ones do you got?
Just like mostly what I love, like
Mm,
Halloween, Trick or Treats, and Friday 13th are like are in my glass, IKEA shelf because those are like my top three franchises. And then Evil Dead and Texas Chainsaw have their own little section too because they have so many of those. And so for
do
me,
you
it's
consider
like
those a sub collection or just those main three?
yeah, I collect. I mean, I consider
All of
those
it.
sub collection because, like I don't have as many Leatherfaces as you do. Like you bought that even NECA Part 3 Leatherface that,
That's
you
awesome.
know, but the idea that it exists is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's why I have it.
And it looks like the Leatherface from the movie, which is, good on them. But like
Yeah.
that's not my favorite, so I'm not gonna be that with. But if like I have the retro Halloween 2 Michael Myers, and I don't even have it on display because I don't know how to display the weird clamshell packaging. It's like a one-off in my collection,
Yeah.
so it's weird. So it hasn't been opened, but I do like in my mind. have like I up right above my head. You won't be able to see it in frame, but there's like all my Toonie Terrors. But like the Michael Myers, Sam, and Jason Voorhees are not within
with
the
their
Toonie Terrors collection. They're with their collection because they're separate.
not going to buy two
No,
because people do
I know,
for
and there
certain.
are also like there's like a bloody version of Michael Myers.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
they released like later with the blood tears, and I can do without repaints for the most part, unless it's like very
Ugh.
really different, like the NES Jason or something. Like
Yeah,
if it's just you know, you added some tears to a previous figure, no thanks.
just yeah. I've always admired your resolve to be able to say no
Yeah,
repaints.
yeah.
It's
I
harder in the
watched other
Transformer
people.
world.
Yeah, yeah. I
They'll
know.
just make it
I never.
another character name, and I'm like, oh shit, it's the same fucking thing I have, but it's now it's
Yeah.
named this. Shit, I have to buy it.
Nope, and they know that. That's why they do
Yeah,
it. And,
yeah.
you know, it's business, but like I've, you know, again, the guy who inspired me to get into collecting, Blake, he still is pretty bad about that, where he'll just pre-order a whole line of toys
Yeah.
because it's easier than hunting for them, and he gets them, and it's like, do you don't even like that one? He's like, well, I'll sell that off and make some profit on it or whatever. And I'm like, I just won't get it in the first place.
Do you ever do any customizing? Do you
Not
ever
really, no. I've No, I've played with that in the past. It's been a long time, but I see people's customs online, and sometimes I'm like, man, that would be really
have you ever
time
bought
consuming. But if
anybody? Yeah. Or have you
I,
purchased any or gotten from?
not any customs, no. I have some bootlegs. Uh,
Yeah, those are fun.
I have like a NECA because NECA they teased and actually like said they were coming out with like a zombie version of Ed from Shaun of the Dead, and it's basically their Ed figure, but like he's painted up and has blood, and he's like he has rotting flesh and stuff. Well, they never released it, so in like China or wherever, who had the dye, you know, the dyes for the toy, they made them and sold them on eBay, and they were like $12 or something shipped, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm buying that. So I have that, and I have a few other bootlegs, but I know like it's not nearly as wild as it is for you. Like in Transformers world, it's like there's probably just as many bootlegs as real ones, right?
Oh yeah. And back in the day bootlegs were definitely frowned upon and like the dirty secret. But now it's like people people have collections of just bootlegs and the prices of those are going up. It's stupid. I mean crazy. That and third party stuff is a kind of a big deal over here in Transformer world. It's just it's a whole enterprise itself. You know, starting from we want to see something that hasn't been made yet, we'll freaking make it ourselves and just call him Fred instead of Optimus or something or whatever, and it's kind of try
Yeah.
and skirt the licensing. And NECA never or Hasbro never really went after anybody, so it's like, well, but
Well,
I
the
know you,
NECA stuff,
yeah,
what they're doing is like whatever company has the. I'm assuming the companies that have the dies or someone's like recasting them, but like they're re-releasing old or even current toys, and it's bad because like there might be sellers on Amazon or eBay who don't they're not even aware they bought like a box of bootlegs,
oh
and then they get passed to a seller or a buyer,
yeah,
and there's some that are obvious where it's like if it's a, you know, Halloween 78 Michael Myers toy, you can look at the package and it's slightly off, the colors are slightly off, and the paint job isn't quite as good. But on the other hand, I'm sort of like, you know, I would much rather buy that than spend a ton on an old original. It's like if I have access to find an old toy I missed out on, there's some that I wish they would bootleg. Like
yeah.
I want, you know, because I can't afford like the one that's eluded me that I could kick my own ass for skipping is Matrix from Commando. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. They made an Ultimate Matrix, and I was like, I'll get that some other time. Never did. They never re-released it, which is very rare for NECA. Usually they do a first release and then re-release a toy. And sometimes, I mean, like the Terminator line, they've been re-releasing for 6, 7 straight years. They never re-release that, and there's no bootlegs. And it's like you can't get them for under $150 for a 7-inch toy. I'm like,
Oh,
someone bootleg this thing. Come on. But with the net, it's weird because like with the NECA bootlegs, it's literally like they're trying to copy it inch for inch, everything, trying to pass it off as a genuine NECA. No, they don't change anything about it. They don't
yeah.
skirt around anything. They sell it as a genuine NECA toy in the same packaging. You can tell from like the hanger hooks or slight paint variants and stuff, or the box just isn't quite as the printing of the box isn't quite as clear. It's a little blurry or something, but
Yeah, Transformers have bootleggers galore. There's websites dedicated to like on a bootleg, this letter's here instead of here, or this little line here is different on this one versus like and like.
yeah,
But at the same time, I've been buying a lot more bootlegs. I'm like, I can't afford this
yeah,
$200 thing. I'm going to buy this $50 thing, and it's exactly the same in my mind. It's going to look the same on the shelf. So yeah.
yeah.
What uh, what are some of the coolest, rarest, most expensive toys in your collection?
Um,
What's the most you spent on a
Probably
toy?
not much.
Yeah.
I haven't. I don't know if I've ever paid secondary price for anything. That's another
Oh.
thing I'm pretty big on. Like, if I missed it, I
Hmm.
missed it. Maybe a few toys here and there, but it still wasn't much,
How
like
do you
more
do
than
it?
retail. But I think probably, again, things I paid retail for that have just become rare now. Like there's a NECA set the night he came home, which was Loomis and Michael Myers at the front porch of the Halloween or the Myers house.
Yeah.
That's become really rare, and I still have that. And just those old, like the Michael Myers and the sheet, the Bob version of Michael Myers, I have that, and that is in the version. There's a 2 pack of Michael and Michael as a kid that is going for ridiculous amounts, and mostly just NECA stuff that came out in like the earlier 2000s that people slept on and didn't get.
Yeah.
Like there's also the Friday 13th Part 2 set with Pam Voorhees and Sackhead Jason. They never put out Pam Voorhees after that, so that's become
Hmm.
a rare. It's like why don't you have the Friday 13th license? Just put out an Ultimate Pam, but they are like, yeah, they let the secondary market, ramp them up so high. Other than that, not. I think that like the most expensive thing I probably bought was the Mezco, which is funny because it's not quite a bootleg, but like back in the day, Sideshow made a Sam like from Trick or Treat that was really cool. They put it out when the movie was supposed to originally come out. They like coincided it with the original theatrical release, and then the movie sat on the shelf, so no one bought the thing.
Yeah.
It sat there, and eventually it sold out. And then the movie came out, and everyone wanted it. Well, they didn't have it anymore because it had been several years, and so Mezco sort of got the license and basically recreated the same toy. And I think it was like $100, and I really had just don't. I don't spend high dollar amounts on toys, so that's probably one of the more expensive ones I bought. But that
Glad you
thing is so
did.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love it. It's probably one of my top 5 favorite toys. I love it.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
Well, the flip side, the big things you don't have. What are your grails? What are you searching for?
That John Matrix toy is like the
Yeah,
one
that's
that
the one.
I lose sleep over at night. He comes with like the coolest accessories, and I love that stupid movie. And
Yeah.
it's like it checks off all the boxes for me. It was something I loved as a kid. It's something that is ridiculous that exists because it's not a good movie. The idea that you can get a Commando action figure is so cool, and I missed out on it and slept on
Yeah.
it and expecting. Other than that,
So everyone watching, keep your eyes out for this toy for Ted. Okay, keep
it
going.
can be loose. I don't care. Yeah, if it's loose,
uh,
I'll take it loose. I don't care. I
you've
just want
said that
him
before.
with his accessories. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Uh, that's what she said. No. I'm trying to think of anything else. I'm looking around. There's not really. That's the one that's really eluding me.
Sure.
The Rambo line I slept on too. They're because they just don't look very good. NECA tried this thing for a while where they made their human figures. They like instead of painting them flesh colored, they cast them in like a slightly translucent like peach flesh tone, and paint it on top of them rather than paint the skin tones, and they look like shit.
Yeah.
And they tried that. The first line they tried that with was the Rambo line, and because Rambo's like, almost naked, he's like shirtless and whatever. So to me, they did not come out looking great. So I was like, they'll probably fix them, and they didn't. They just released more, and then now they're hard to find. And I just want one. There's one particular Rambo they did that was a Comic Con exclusive. I think it's from Rambo 2, and they cast it in like they went back to their regular like casting it in the normal plastic and painting the plastic, and he looks great. And because he was an exclusive, he's very very hard to find. He's the only one that doesn't look like shit. But those two, not much horror stuff. I don't let the horror stuff really slip me by. If I want it, I buy it because for
Yeah.
the most part, it's always
Because
you'll always be able to. Yeah, because you'll always be able to. You'll never regret it because you'll always be able to get your small investment back.
and most of the time, if you regret it, you'll still be able to buy it. You're going to have to pay for it. So
Yep.
it'll be out there.
Yep.
You just got to pay.
Yep.
Well, we're almost done. Just a couple more questions. So now looking forward, what kind of goals do you have for yourself and your toys and your collecting going forward? Tell me your goals.
Just build like making it less of a mess, I guess. I love, you
Always.
know, th- like this is what I've been working on. Like I said, over my shoulder, this display and create this room in general has become like a fun project over winter break, working on it, getting more stuff up and displayed. I finally caught up on my huge stack of toys I had to show off for the video reviews. I'm down
Yay.
to, I think, just one now, so I'm sort of like letting it pile back up to do stuff again. But uh, forward, I would just say, keep hunting, keep finding stuff, keep my composure as far as you said, being able to have self control on not
I've
buying
heard of that.
everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just finding room for it and displaying it, and yeah.
Well, this video is going to sweep the internet, and all the kids are going to be watching it. So advice wise, what kind of advice would you give the new toy collector or even a seasoned veteran? What do you advice
uh,
of Chad?
Maybe just what I sort of mentioned, buy what you like, but don't feel try to avoid the hype of things. Like when something comes out and
Oh, so
everybody else
hard.
loves it, yeah, don't just buy it because everyone else wants it, because you'll feel that little satisfaction of I got it and you didn't for a second. Then you're like, why did I buy this?
Yeah.
One pitfall I fell into for a long time was buying stuff I didn't really want because it was cheap.
Mm,
Finding a good deal. I'm
yeah.
still guilty about that, not just in toy collecting, but life. I'm like, I'll buy food because I find it on clearance, and I'm like, but I don't even eat this. Why did I buy it? Because
Sure.
it's cheap. It's a deal. There's so many toys I have that are in like tubs and not on display because I'm like, I found this on clearance. I don't even like this license or this. I'm not collecting any other. I'm like looking over in the corner. I see two Ghostbusters. Like I found them on clearance at Target, and I have no intention of finding the other two Ghostbusters.
And they're cool, but
Uh,
you bought them because they were on clearance.
yeah, and it's like so don't just buy things because they're cheap. Uh, Pay more for things you really want rather than pay less for things you don't want. Um, but also don't second guess yourself when there's like, if there is an exclusive or something that you really think you might like or want, because for the most part in toy collecting, like if you buy it and you regret it later, someone else will want it. Someone else out there, there's always a buyer. There's always somebody else who will
Yeah.
love you, no matter what stupid license or weird thing it is. There's an audience for it, and the worst you can do is you'll make your money back. So
Yeah. Definitely with toys. Well, all right. Before we go, do you have any plugs? You want to plug some things? Tell people where to find you and all that good stuff.
I'm tad good on everything. TADD. If you are a filmmaker by chance, submit to the Snake Alley Festival Film on Film Freeway. Listen to Attack of the Killer podcast because we're awesome and love talking horror movies. That's about it for plugging stuff. it's a lot of fun what we do. And if you're into toys, become an attacker on a Tactical podcast, because I'm almost every week opening a toy on our YouTube channel or showing off something weird. And whether it's a Chucky Chia pet or a Chucky popcorn bucket or a new NECA figure, I always find stuff to show, and most of it is weird collectibles that your listeners probably like. So
Yep. Well, thanks for being on, Tad. We sure appreciate it, and it's good to talk to you.
anytime,
Toys.
anytime I can talk toys is,
A
so
good
a lot of
thing.
it is just me talking to myself in the camera at other, for a Tactical Killer podcast. So to get another person to talk back to me is great. So thank you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.